Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag.
I
Pledge allegiance to thee,
Texas,
one state,
under God, indivisible. There we go. I missed it.
Terry did it. Terry did it.
One and indivisible. Thank you.
All right, we are live. Also, we lost an employee this week, Kelly Travis. If you would keep her in your thoughts and prayers, her family as well. Okay, at this time, any person with business before the court not scheduled on the agenda may speak to the court. No formal action can be taken on these items at this meeting. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Okay. Court to discuss and consider interprecinct projects, schedule, and staff.
We're on vacation.
Right. All right, court to conduct public hearing on designation of a reinvestment zone on approximately 10,200 acres to be known as Scurry Borden County Line Reinvestment Zone Number 1, located in the northeast corner of Scurry County at the Borden Scurry Garza County lines. We'll start that at 10:05. Is that what you got?
What exactly is it?
It's a wind farm that is
Oh, okay.
up there in that corner area. Most of it is over in Borden County.
Why is that marked down as the northeast?
I don't know.
Error,
Well,
just an error.
okay, because that's not northeast.
No, sir, you're right. It's northwest.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That was just an error. And there are about 4 of us that looked at that and didn't catch it.
I caught it the first time I heard it.
Okay.
I was thinking if they're going northeast, that's oil field.
And it's not Borden and Garza County
Uh-uh.
over there either.
Solar's
Yeah.
if it is, we got a problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
World is upside down and backwards. Okay, any other comments? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing then. Court to discuss and consider designating approximately 10,200 acres as a reinvestment zone to be named Scurry Borden County Line Reinvestment Zone Number 1 pursuant to Texas Tax Code Sections 312.
I don't know why we didn't, since we've done everything but this, so I make a motion that we designate 10,200 acres as a reinvestment.
Here is court to discuss and consider approval of a rural subdivision plat application and authorize the filing and record thereof.
That's you.
Yeah. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How about yourself?
I'm good. Can you tell us your name?
Eric Martinez.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Martinez.
Well, it's pretty cut and dry off
Yeah.
of 208. A small subdivision. We've gotten it's out of any flood zone, so no type A's there.
Mhm.
And we have our easements on there from Encore.
Okay. Any thoughts on this? Have you had a chance to look at the plats? No?
That's just making sure.
Correct. There will be a fire.
Down 208,
It'll be private road. And
Colorado
we'll give a
City,
test stop to get the
past or
driveway.
turn off for the. Mm-hmm.
Is this for campers?
Pardon me?
Is it for campers or what?
No, these would be for homes.
And it's east side of 208?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
It's right next to the barn.
Yeah, I know exactly.
I
what
think
you're
it's
saying.
past the county barn, isn't it?
Yeah, it's past the county barn. There's a kind of a lot there next to it with like some type of construction.
It's the county barn.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay,
East
so
side of
it's
town
right
barn.
next to it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right next to it. So.
yeah, I know where it's
Just to the south,
It's not supposed to thought.
at. North
north of it, north of the county.
Yeah.
Where it is.
Directly
Ah,
north.
gotcha.
Okay.
County barn right here.
Right.
We need houses.
That's north.
134 by,
Oh, yeah.
122.46 wide. That one is.
If
Yeah.
you build a big house on it, you can't drive around it.
Yeah, they're 122 foot.
That's not my issue, so they just chop them up over and I'm driving off.
You buy more than one.
There you go.
If we approve it, all it is authorizing filing and recording of it, isn't it? I mean, it's not nothing else.
I commend anybody that'll try something like that.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Housing's a good thing.
Absolutely. Good luck. I like that.
I appreciate somebody coming in and doing that.
Judge, I make a motion that we approve the rural subdivision plan application and authorize the filing and recording thereof.
There,
All in favor? Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Martinez.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Court to discuss and consider proposal for broadband fiber development services. How you doing, Doug?
I'm doing well, sir. Thank you.
Good. Yes, sir. I'll let you go ahead and lay this out for us. Broadband is coming. There's been a bunch of money from the feds to the state, and they'll put that out sometime, who's getting what. And I think you have to apply for it, but you have to be in line. You have to have certain things in place. Correct?
That's correct, sir. So where we're at right now, the city of Snyder has already approved funding for us to proceed forward with the initial planning and pre-development of broadband fiber infrastructure for here in Snyder. It was thought at the time that, it doesn't make much sense to not include Scurry counties in that proposal so that we can go ahead then and get together the information as the judge says, so that we will be early in line to apply for the funding. We don't know how much funding there is yet. We don't know what the requirements are to get the funding, but we do know that these requirements, in order to apply for the funding, have to be in place. It is a first come, first serve. So, the earlier that we can apply for the funding, the better off we are in the likelihood of receiving the funding. Now, the funding we're talking about is for the actual construction of the infrastructure. In order to do that, we've got to have engineering, we've got to have surveys, we've got to have acquisition to right-of-ways. All the things have got to be ready by the time you submit your application for the funding, including the contract with a provider that will provide either the internet, TV, and cable services that will be coming across that broadband. What the intent is that we will do all the information necessary, and then we will go out for proposals from vendors who will provide those services then. And then a selection of whatever vendor has the best proposal then will be included in our package that we submit for funding for the construction. That funding will go to that provider to build the infrastructure, basically bury the cable and run the individual lines up to the houses and all the things necessary in order to provide that. But, nobody can move forward until we have this initial, development work done. So the city has committed funding. We are proceeding forward. Our contractor and our consultant will be here on December the 16th. They will be doing the surveying work tonight. They do have slots open that they can during that same time frame, subject to the approval of this contract that you have, I assume, in your packets today. So I'm available to try to answer any questions that you can. I'm not a broadband expert, but I know a little bit.
Do you play one on TV?
When they pay me enough money.
Connected Texas is very involved in this. This is who is going to be actually doing
That's
all of the
correct.
survey and all. And if you've been to their website at all, you see that they've already got a very big leg up on all of this information. It's just down to getting the minute details at this point, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So this would come from the ARP funds. As you know, it says in big bold letters on there, broadband.
Definitely.
My intention all along for the infrastructure to actually build it, to wait and see what's coming down the pipe with the other money. But I think that this aspect falls into the ARPA funds that we could use, and we need to do this to get to where we can get those other funds.
So when y'all get through, we'll be ready to, if we get the money, we'll be ready.
Yes, ma'am. That's the intent, is that when we get through with everything, as soon as we get the guidelines and the state determines the availability of funding and the process that we need to go through in order to apply, we'll have all the documentation and all the necessary things in order to put that application in.
You mentioned right-of-ways would have to be secured. I'm assuming in the county at least, that those right-of-ways would be on lines and poles within the county or in the right-of-way of the county being buried, which that's where all utilities go. So in that case, the right-of-ways for public transport of those lines is already secured.
That's correct.
Okay. So
Maybe that we have to secure additional, I don't know until they finish the surveying and the inventory of the availability.
So the additional maybe text dot roads, right of way,
Could
or
be.
something like that, which I think they also allow that.
Right.
I noticed that the cost is $23,000. That's what the purchase order says. But then I notice over on page 3, just above the middle of the page, that will not exceed $250,000 without a revision in the section agreeing to revised amounts. What's the difference?
Once we do
between-
the inventory and determine what we have, then we'll have to determine what we need.
Okay.
And that's kind of that buffer zone between this initial cost for the inventory that Connected Nation will be doing and the engineer's determination of exactly what we need. We get into some technical stuff that honestly, I don't know, there may be, for lack of a better term, stations that this has to go through and then be broadcast out amongst the rest of the, I don't know.
Okay.
It's just kind of a buffer zone that once we do that, we'll be back to talk to you about, this is what additional that we need.
But it wouldn't exceed the 23,000
No,
at this time.
at this time, that's correct.
And so the next step could be as much or go up to the 250,000,
Correct,
but wouldn't go beyond that without
correct,
coming and visiting with the court.
correct.
Say that it goes beyond the 250. Where are we gonna get it?
That would be part of the actual infrastructure fund that comes down instead of this.
3,000 maximum
Right.
to do what we're talking about doing today. In the contract, once you go to the second part, then up to 250 without coming back. Switch. I don't know how they'd know that either right now.
I don't know they won't, and that's the part that scares me.
Yeah.
250 is the maximum though, without coming back to the court.
Uh,
And but that's a lot
I
of,
mean,
it's 10 times what we're agreeing to today.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my issue.
Yeah. I agree.
250, and then they cut back, and I'll just throw a number out there, they gotta have another 50, they cut back to us.
Yeah.
Where we don't get.
Well, and that's where ARPA funds come in at, as well as the funds that we are going to be provided at some point in time by this new office that is being created, has been created by the legislature for broadband. So time, my understanding is we can opt out.
Right.
If it's not something that is paid for either by federal or state funds.
Well, so y'all know how I feel about the ARPA money right now.
Oh, I know.
There's too many unknowns with it.
Yep.
And
I agree, and if it was any more than 23,000, I would say absolutely
Can
not.
I ask a question?
Sure.
On this, what if there's a mandate comes down that says that if you spend the federal money, then you have to make sure your employees are vaccinated for the vaccine?
There,
That's a-
that stuff is going through the federal court system right now.
Well, I know, but there's
And-
not been a response. It's not finished.
I know it's not, but then we would potentially return all that money. So this is the only thing I would request out of those funds at all at this point. Because I think that's something, 23,000 is something that we could cover. If it was 250,000, I wouldn't even be, we wouldn't have come here today.
No, and anything beyond the 23,000, we will always come back to Commissioners Court for approval before we go forward for anything. Just because the Master Services Agreement says we can go up to, we won't exceed the 23. You have to approve each purchase order before we go forward.
There's no guarantee that we'll get the money, so.
Right.
Yeah, like I
Be a good
said,
point.
my concern is still with that ARPA money, and
Would you rather take it out of another fund?
we ain't got another fund.
Well, it's like Dan said, we can at least pay it 23,000 back.
Yeah,
We
where
have
we
to.
gonna get.
Well, I got some in my budget.
I think it would be a lot easier to pay the 23,000 out of one of the general fund lines or something than it would, you'd have to pay 250,000. I just want to make sure there is an opt-out in case that does become a finalized thing from the government, because you don't know what they're going to do at this point.
They don't know what they're gonna
No.
do. They're just throwing, anyway.
That's exactly right.
But
Well, those mandates so far have been beat at every step along the way in the court system, so.
yeah, and let's hope they keep getting beat.
I agree.
But I don't wanna put the
Oh, no.
taxpayers at risk for,
No, and that's why if it was anything more than this amount, I would not have even suggested bringing this to the court.
just,
I think if we're, if it's first come, first served, and knowing how important broadband is to, especially to shut-ins that have no way to actually be able to have a conversation with their doctor over Zoom or any other app that they might choose. Those in rural areas have needed this for a very long time, and we're becoming a sicker and sicker nation, older and older nation. And that's just one of the reasons of why broadband needs to be brought in for sure. I feel the same as the judge. I feel like 23,000, we can figure out a way to make that up if we have to send those funds back, because we decide that since the federal government has determined that we need to be vaccinated regardless, that we can figure out a way to do that, but we can't get ahead if we don't start. And we can lose out on helping our people in this community to have access to the internet that most of us enjoy on our cell phones. And many of these folks can't because they got flip phones, they are none.
You're a flip phone.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can't do it.
This is because he don't want.
Yeah.
Looking out there and whoop.
and I understand that, and I'm not arguing
I understand.
Sure.
with y'all or disagreeing in any form or fashion. But I do know that my gut feeling for me only, there's too many holes in it. That's my personal
There's too
feeling.
many what?
Too many holes in it, unknowns.
And let me throw this out there, this aspect of it. There are a lot of businesses that specifically are asking for broadband when they come to a location. I got a call about one, month and a half ago, and that was one of the main requests that they had was broadband, and there's not broadband where they're wanting to be. So, and it was I think it was about $250 million project. So,
I think that if Snyder wants to grow, this is something we're gonna have to have
I agree.
at some time or other.
That's
Might as well get in on it to begin with.
Even not just Snyder, Scurry, the whole Scurry.
Whole Scurry County.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Because
I'm
the guy,
sorry, I should have said,
even like we live at Hermley. People would come that direction too, especially with the oil field going on out there.
sure,
If they could use it
right.
instead of, oh my God, we got AT&T.
Yeah, the circles are unending, aren't
That doesn't work half the
they?
time.
That's true.
Or we have Suddenlink in town,
Mhm.
in Hermley, but they got so expensive, nobody can do it.
Right.
But it has to be reasonable for everybody to afford it.
Exactly.
and that's going to be part of that search is who come in and get all this money from the federal government, and then they're going to.
Mhm.
That is something that I will fight against. I'm going to
Absolutely.
work
And
closely
that's
with
the
those on
intent
that.
of us going out for requests for proposals for carriers,
Yeah.
is that we can negotiate that contract with them and we can regulate some of the pricing.
Right.
There is subsidy monies out there. We don't know what the criteria are yet to be able to subsidize payments to low to moderate income people, but we'll cross that bridge when it finally gets out here. But the main thing is it's estimated somewhere in the neighborhood of $6 million to put the infrastructure in Scurry County.
Right.
So, there's not enough subscribers in Scurry County.
Mhm.
So we've got to figure out a way that we can get the subsidy to be able to help offset those costs, or nobody's.
What isn't subsidized?
What is subsidized?
What
What is
isn't?
not?
Yeah.
Oh.
What is not subsidized?
Ms. Summers?
Who's the contract with? You're speaking about a contract. Is it with Connected Texas?
It's actually going to be with this consultant who's Carol Faulkner.
Faulkner
Name of
Consulting.
his is Faulkner Consulting LLC, DBA Digital Fields LLC. So,
Why is there not a representative partner here today?
he actually called me to ask if he needed to come, and I told him I thought that I could handle it, so.
The 23,000 you're speaking about, you're gonna use the ARP funds or not?
We hadn't decided that yet. That's going to be part of what we vote
You
on.
mentioned something about paying it back, but that's already been discussed with something prior. Y'all were gonna give some money to something and you decided.
That none of that's been decided yet. This
Well,
would
the
be
other
the
one.
first funds that were spent out of that if we decided to do that today.
But you mentioned something about if you needed to pay it back, and it would be the same thing as you voted on not long ago. Giving money for something, and if needed to, you could pay it back to the ARP funds, and that was legal.
No, ma'am, we did not do that. What specifically, what are you talking about?
Well, you keep saying if you get this 23,000 and you need to pay it back, are you talking about pay it back to the ARP funds? In a previous meeting, there was a discussion about a loan, and if it needed to be paid back, but then you found out.
And we
it couldn't
said
be
we
paid
were
back.
not going to do that.
Okay,
We
because
could
it was
not do
illegal.
that because it was not legal to do that.
And another thing about this 23,000, if you decide it wasn't spent correctly, 23,000 or 250,000 is not the amount that goes back to the ARP funds. The total, if one penny is misspent, the whole amount, not just the 23,000, goes back.
This would not be misspent.
No, absolutely
It would
not.
just be if they required that all of our employees, county employees, had to be vaccinated.
And we had to send all of the funds back.
Right.
It's 23,000 that we would have to pay back to that ARPA fund that we had spent from that fund, not
In order to send it back to the federal government.
correct,
Yeah.
to bring it back to the full
Broadband is actually
amount.
listed as an approvable expense.
Absolutely.
On our
And the government is,
It is the clearest
Yes,
way
it is
that
the
you can
most
spend this money is
common.
for broadband.
Like I said, I'm not against it, and because she said, and they don't know what it's gonna cost. It's individual.
Right.
You know, if it comes in and they do their job, they say, okay, we got it, and it's gonna cost $100 a month, that doesn't solve the issue for some people, does it?
You're right.
I mean, it
That's
really
right.
doesn't, because things go up,
They do.
and I am, like I said, I'm trying to be the devil's advocate with
Yeah.
23 grand. And there's too many holes in it for me. And, you know, and it's not his fault.
Well, right now, there is no information on what it would cost us, what it would cost the end user. And that's kind of where this starts, is getting us headed in the direction to where we know.
Also,
We have to
Yes,
do
sir.
this before we know anything else.
exactly.
So,
If we don't do this, we'll never know.
so
But I'm curious. Suddenlink is broadband, correct?
No, ma'am.
Oh, no.
They're not?
Oh, no.
broadband is a complete different.
Oh,
Does it make it any faster?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Considerably faster.
I
Basically,
don't know if I need that much information that fast.
Suddenlink uses cable.
Right.
They don't use fiber. And that's what broadband, there are several different ways of getting broadband. It's wireless, and then
I'm
there's
just telling
fiber, but cable is
When you
not one of
come
them.
to Harmony, Texas, and that farmer goes out there and goes, "Whoa," and that fiber optic line is gone.
It won't be out this field. Okay.
There's no farmer that wants to dig up a fiber optic line. It's $150 per thread.
I know.
And they
But
vary.
some of them plow the bore ditches, you know.
They do. They do. And what I'm hearing they're doing, in the past, what they've done. Yeah,
Yes.
they've buried that deep. They're also
It's
talking
gone right.
at the poles. So it would go along telephone poles, and there's some other options out there too. But
Yeah, fiber optic is not something. In fact, AT&T meets us every time we work around some of their fiber optic lines. They keep a guy there all the
Whole
time
time.
we're there to make sure that we don't get into their line because of the expense of repairing it. And so I promise you that's not going to happen.
Just curious,
yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
because I don't want to spend $200 a month on the
No,
cable,
no.
and then I don't get to use it for 10 days because they're fixing it.
One of the things too, as you pointed out, is, you know, that end cost to the end user is an unknown at this point. Part of the program, as I've mentioned a minute ago, is there is some subsidy monies out there for qualified people to be able to apply for to help offset some of that cost. But the other safeguard that you have in here is that when we go out for this proposal for vendors to supply that service, we can negotiate that end user price, you know. So, you know, the fact that we're providing them with, you know, X number of dollars to be able to do the cost of the infrastructure, then we have some leverage to say there's not any reason for you to be charging $250 a month when you had zero costs in building out your infrastructure.
Right.
Now, they do have a cost in providing the service, and that's
Sure.
reasonable and expected. But, you know, just to start tacking on for cost of development and infrastructure, that's what we're trying to accomplish here and offset that cost with and give us some bargaining power.
Okay, so this 23,000, will it get us
On the
the
list.
final?
No, sir. This is
End
strictly
user
an
amount.
inventory of what we have right now. We can't go forward till we know what we got.
It's going to be a process, different steps, and this is just the very first step. That step is probably about number 4 or 5, I would guess.
You know, and I really believe this is going to be somewhat kin to, and because you bring this up, of cell phones. So I know several people in Scurry County, and there's got to be hundreds, that are below a certain poverty level that receive cellular service for free, as well
And
as
phones.
data for free. My mother is one of those recipients. And so she's got the cell phone and everything she needs that she pays nothing for. And it's unlimited
But here's
amount
the
of
deal, a
minutes.
lot of
and-
people, we need a program somewhere
Yeah.
that helps these people
I
know
think-
how to do it. There's
I think
not a
it's gonna be the
program that
same
knows
thing.
how to do it.
Right.
We don't have one in Scurry County or Snyder to help the older people or the disabled or whatever to get that service.
That's what us kids are for.
Not this people.
Not this generation.
But you're capable of doing more
Oh, yeah.
than what most are.
I just give it to the kids at school and say, y'all fix
There you
this.
go. So you did have a kid.
It's not
That helps
much telling what's gonna come up on that phone afterwards, but
But yeah, I
Okay.
think there's gonna be programs to where
Yeah.
they'll even get it for free. And which they don't have the option to do right now because we don't have it.
right.
And so at any time that our federal government and our state government believes this is something important enough to do, and have offices both ways,
Mhm.
I believe that it's something we definitely need to, I mean, for our consumers, if we don't get this done and we apply too late, we're stuck out here in the cold and nobody gets any
We're
difference in
still
what they've
stuck
got.
in Scurry County by ourselves.
We need to take care of it. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna make an,
Okay, who around here has this?
AT&T,
Other
if
counties?
you want to pay for it.
There is a fiber cable here in Snyder.
Okay.
If you want to access that, number one, you will have to pay for the construction costs from their main trunk line to your place of business or to your house. That means you're gonna pay for that construction of laying that fiber line. Number two is they won't guarantee you any more than 30 megabytes per second. 30.
Mhm.
Yikes.
30 is going back into the 1970s,
This is terrible.
data download. So, and the last numbers that I got from them, 30 megabytes per second, pay for the construction cost was $450 a month
Ooh.
for that. If you wanted more than 30, it goes up to 5 and then on up to over $1,000 a month.
Yeah, this is no different than cell phones. First one I bought was $2,500, and the only thing it would do would dial out and call in. Now I got a computer in my pocket and $1,000, so
Mitchell County.
it's going to change.
Mitchell County has it.
And there are other counties that are around
Nolan.
us that are, I don't know for sure about Nola.
well,
But to
I'm gonna
compete-
make a motion that we get started on
Thank
this.
you.
To compete with the other
Second.
counties, something's gonna have to happen.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
What a one.
All opposed? Okay.
We did that, I can't, I'm not against it.
Sure. And I'll tell you this, I will not come to you with another request for ARP funds until at least we get the rest of them and we know more through the court system of what's going to happen.
So, there's the big old, sure, it's done.
Thank you,
We're gonna
Commissioners.
go with
Thank you,
that.
Doug. We appreciate you coming in. Okay, court to consider abandoning Stadium Street in Precinct 4, and it's just a short area.
It goes from County Road, Undermark Road, 644 to 84. In Hermley,
Yes, ma'am.
that's it.
Yes, ma'am. So actually,
284, not business 84.
No, it's 84. No, that part's already been closed.
yeah, it has.
Business 84 to 644.
There's a copy of the survey that shows the street that is for.
Okay. Perfect. I'm gonna pull up the map. Show you all exactly.
644 is east of what we're talking about.
Is that Rose Street?
It's Willis Street also. And there's an alleyway showing on that picture.
Mhm.
Well, the fences have already taken up the alleyway from years ago. So I guess, is that something the county has to do too?
Yeah, if we actually have the alleyways there for that.
They're all over
plant,
Hermley. There's
we-
no,
And we've closed tons of them.
well, let's close it too.
Every
while we're
time
there.
somebody,
Yeah. might as well.
Close it
Y'all-
too.
y'all-
And- I don't, can we do that with this?
Well, we probably have to.
Do another thing.
Designated.
But we have abandoned a lot of streets and alleys in Hermley through the years. I don't have a list of them. I don't know that anybody does. And then some of them have just been involuntarily closed by folks fencing them off.
Well, and that's what's happened.
Yeah.
Really?
The
Did
fence
this have
has
a
been there for 50
alleyway
years.
in?
So
So Lincoln County is probably effectively abandoned.
I don't remember.
it
I
never
think
was
he's
mentioned.
got
When
the,
the town unincorporated, the
Right.
county received all those roads and alleyways by default.
Okay. Well, either way, we're paying taxes on it.
I didn't intend to use the computer till later, but this makes sense.
Is the alleyway back to the south of this plot?
West.
To the west.
Let me show you.
okay, this is River Street.
Uh-huh.
This, between there, that's the alleyway.
Okay.
But this guy, he has his fence up here, so we put ours right up there.
Okay. Yeah, I got you. So it's separate from the plot, completely.
Yeah,
Separate
yeah.
across the street.
Well,
Yeah,
Stadium, it's across Stadium Street from this plot. That's Stadium Street that's running.
well,
this way, between our parlor.
Harlan,
Okay, looking at this map, where the hand is, that's Stadium and Fifth Street right there.
Right.
It stops at Harlan Avenue.
That's-
All of these properties here are individually owned, so that's already been
That's been closed.
abandoned.
That's been closed, yeah.
The area we're talking about is right here.
Yes.
Between Willis and 84.
Yes.
That has not been abandoned.
See the lines that goes through the alleyway?
Right here.
Yeah. There's fences all the way down,
Right.
but I'm just saying,
And then Cardinal Street actually comes right here as well.
yes.
So what we can do today though is Stadium. And we would have to come back and do these up here. But,
That's not my problem.
Usually when someone has a problem, so we.
yeah. So, but this is the area that's been
Stadium
discussed.
Street.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the one on, by the highway, that's already fenced in, half of that road.
Well, you can see the green.
Yeah.
Right here.
Right there, yes.
Yeah. He fenced it, it's already fenced
Well,
in.
it's been fenced for years.
I mean,
when-
Miss Melton and them did it.
Probably over 50 years or something. I don't know how
Yeah.
long. It's
So
been a
in
long
other
time.
words, this is actually a road, hasn't been a road in years.
Never has been a road.
Road.
It's been plowed.
since 1907 when it was platted.
It was platted as a town, and when the town unincorporated,
Yep.
the county inherited all those platted roads.
Yeah.
Whether they were being used or not,
Right,
we just inherited the dedication on them.
just a headache.
So I make a motion to abandon Stadium Street in Hernley, Texas.
Second.
All in favor.
I know, it's done.
Between Willis and Highway 84, correct?
Yes.
Not all of Stadium.
No,
No, just between Willis and,
just the plat,
Just verifying.
just the plat.
Willis.
There'll be some mad people at us if you close the whole street. Cause it goes over by the Dacus's place.
All the way up to the county barn.
J&K Reynolds?
Oh, no, that's another deal.
another slide.
Where's that?
All right, so that is taken care of. Did we vote? Or just
Yeah.
we get?
Yes.
Yep,
Okay.
5-0.
Making sure.
All done.
We're done?
Thank y'all.
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all coming in.
Who writes all this up?
It'll be in the minutes of the court. I mean, it's
Okay.
done.
Okay.
It's official.
Mark down what day we did this.
Yeah.
George,
Thank y'all.
needing some spuds, man.
No, no kidding.
Thanks, guys.
Thank y'all. Appreciate you.
Judge, thank you, sir.
Thank you,
I
Doug.
assume you'll
Appreciate I will.
execute those documents and send those back to Mr. Faulkner then, and
I sure will.
I'll call him and notify him that y'all approve so you can get on that connected nation schedule for the 16th.
Okay, sounds good.
Commissioner, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
And I'll get all these signed.
Thank you,
or do
ma'am.
want me to
Thank
just-
you.
you want
Thank
to
you,
come
sir.
back and get all these extras? Okay, and I'll get these signed and get them stamped
Thank
and
you.
get you all your copies.
Outstanding. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Martinez. All right, court to consider certification of additional revenues in the form of supplemental payments from TAC for MVD supplement claim on multiple buildings due to hail damage.
And this was $100,000 that we received, and it was for the administration side of the contract and everything to get all the roofs fixed and all the damage we had.
Okay.
There will be a budget amendment, later for the prepared to pay that actually.
We want to go ahead and do the other one at the same time or just
I think I have two more.
two more? Well, let's go ahead and do them individually then.
I make a motion to certify additional revenue from TAC for hail damage on multiple buildings.
A second.
All in favor? Okay. Court to consider certification of additional revenues in the form of a revenue from proceeds from selling metal to Snyder Iron and Metal.
This was for precinct 1, for $3,705.40. We sold iron metal, Snyder, and iron metal, and there will be a budget amendment placed in that in his line as well.
Make a motion to certify additional revenues from proceeds from selling metal to Snyder Iron and Metal.
Second.
All in favor? All right. Court to consider certification of additional revenues in the form of supplemental payment from TAC for MVD supplement claim on multiple vehicles due to hail damage.
We are still fixing the cars from all the hail, and this is a supplement for $62 for the sheriff's office and $1,218.50 should be it's for the probation office, or extension office, sorry. This one's the extension office.
Make a motion to certify the revenues from TAC for multiple vehicles.
Yeah.
Due to hail damage.
Second.
All in favor? All right. Court to discuss and consider joining a mandated regional SART, sexual assault response team required by HB 476. You have a packet here. We were wondering how we were going to do this. The one in Big Spring reached out to us and asked us to join their regional. I don't know exactly how many counties are involved. They've spoken to our district attorney, our police department, our sheriff's department, who are required to be on there. And you also have to have these other ones, a sexual assault nurse examiner, mental or behavioral health provider within the county, or someone from the health department, other persons or professionals the SART considers necessary for the operation of the response team. They've put one together. We don't have to do it. We just need to join theirs if we choose to do so. We were looking for information from them. The COG reached out to us, asked us if we wanted to join theirs. I've sent them information because didn't know where this one was going to go yet. But I think instead of joining multiples, we would just want to join one, and one in Big Spring would be a good option for us. And I do know that those that would have to go to these required meetings don't want to go to more than one
Exactly.
regional SART.
I think Terry's favorite words in here.
Mandated.
Mandated.
Yes.
Make a motion, we go on the mandated regional sexual assault response team as required by House Bill HB 76.
Second.
Big Spring.
In Big Springs.
All in favor? All right, very good. All right, let's do this novel. Line item transfers and budget amendments.
We'll start with line item transfers.
Well, it wouldn't be novel because novel is fiction, correct?
Move on,
Give you my undivided attention on this.
Okay, I'm going in order and y'all might not be in order. First one's county judge, line item, education and training out of equipment to fix the line. I'm gonna put them all here and then give them.
That's fine.
Second one is commissioner's court into dues, 400 out of office supplies. The next one is also commissioner's court, but it's precinct 3 section of commissioner's court, education and training and auto expense, $1.81 in education and training and $97.27 in auto expense out of, and he's pulling it from his road and material from precinct 15, 9908, because it's his. JP2. She's got 2 funds on here. She's got her regular JP2 fund, 10456. It's autopsy, $700.50, and that she wrote autopsy, but that's not what it's coming from. It's coming from office supplies. And then the tech line is her postage meter, $119.98, and it's coming out of her maintenance agreements lines, $119.98. I don't know what she wrote on there. The next one is court reporter, education and training, $165 out of office supplies. The next one is the county attorney, and this, there's office supplies, education, and bonds and notaries. It's $110.55, $102.45, $80, $50, and $97 out of law books, dues, liability insurance, and maintenance. Then the district attorney office, out of 4 law books, out of education and training, $500. The maintenance repair miscellaneous, $600 out of Angela Infirmary, $300 out of clothing allowance, $900. Sheriff's office, fuel and oil, $300, equipment, $1,000 to $5,000, $2,200, and equipment under $1,000, $3,500, out of capital outlay, $6,000. I do know he had to replace his service revolvers because he could not get ammunition for
Exactly.
the current ones he has. So he had to get new ones so he could get ammunition.
Mhm.
It's crazy.
It is. It's been 2 years.
Yes.
2 years and you can't get ammunition.
Maybe we should start reloading our own.
Juvenile probation, audit expense, $340 out of copier supplies. Adult probation, the county one, office supplies, $340, education and training, $1,000, auto expense, $692 out of copier supplies, for a total of $2,032. Health unit, contract labor, $400 out of education and training, to cover the cost of the LHA and pharmacist for the end of the year. Library is $625 into her, I don't know what she did, but it's to replace a battery in her county vehicle. And she's doing it out of her periodicals. Park clothing, Parks Department for the park clothing, $29.69 out of tires. Extension office, $240, main repairs and miscellaneous out of the A&R travel line. Precinct 1, tires and tubes, $1,000, utilities, $2,500, maintenance and repair, $10,000, and capital outlay, $10,000, totaling $20,500, coming from fuel and oil, building and grounds, and equipment. Precinct 2, cell phone, $72 out of operating supplies. Precinct 3, tires and tubes out of road material and construction. Precinct 4, other equipment, $33, $44, $12. Equipment, $1,000 to $5,000, $33, $44, $12. Other equipment, $21, $36, $02, and maintenance repair miscellaneous, $1,000, coming out of road materials for a total of $7,000. And golf course maintenance repair miscellaneous, $3,000 out of utilities. It's all of the line item transfers.
Good.
And then we have budget amendments. Not as many, but that's fine. This is the budget amendment for the roof repairs. For the administration, it's $156,801.25. Our
our insurance only covered 100,000 of it, and then we have a 5,000 deductible on it, but we have to pay the full deal. This is the County and Justice Court, $35,000. This is for the court-appointed attorney with all of the new mandates, updated mandates, not new, they're updated, in our contracts for the appointed attorney with Trey and Jeannie. It's covering that. There will be one at next time for the district judge for his court-appointed attorney. IT, other equipment, $731.75. Sheriff Department auto expense, this is at $62 that we just certified. And the extension office, the $1218.50. This is what we just certified earlier to fix their vehicles. And Road and Bridge Precinct 1, this is what we certified earlier of the $3705.40 is going to capital outlay. And the final one is the LE/INS fund, and this is $850, and it was just due to an increase in their administration cost this year.
That INS fund is there.
Our debt, yeah.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the line item transfers and budget amendments as presented.
All in favor? Okay, accounts payable.
Accounts payable is $1,544,045.72.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
All in favor? We will now go into executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code, Section 551.072, real property, or to discuss and consider the possible purchase or lease of real property.
Judge, could I get you to sign these so that